Alright, so this video here is going to be a video that teaches you how to access and analyze data from the HPLC. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is going to go to the software from your home computer or wherever you're at that will allow you access to the HPLC's computer. Okay, because we're just going to analyze the data. So what we're going to look at here is a software called TeamViewer. Alright, so we go for Google TeamViewer, and then we go into this TeamViewer here, free remote control, and then we go to the web login link there. We go to web login, and then after we go to web login, there's going to be a spot where you put in the email address, and this is the email address that you're going to put in. That's my email address, and then there's going to be a spot for the password, and then you're going to do that. And then you're going to click sign in, and after you click sign in, they're going to, so on my computer specifically, it sees that I have TeamViewer downloaded already, and so it actually will revert to that. It won't use the web version, it'll just use the downloaded version. And you can download it. Downloading it is it's free if you're just going to use it as a student. And then once you get to that point, you're going to look at the computers that are available to you, and the HPLC, if that's when we're going to analyze. So you would click connect here, and you would click connect, and after you click connect there, it's going to say let's see what's it doing now. Okay, so it essentially says you already have it open. For you on your computer, because I do have it open in the background through the software that I downloaded, and you can download the software and it's free. But if you're not working on that, it's going to open up another window after you click connect here that's going to say, do you want to download the software or do you want to continue as on the web client? And you want to push continue on the web client if you don't want to download the software. Okay, so once you click continue on the web client, then it will open up a window that looks something like this. Okay, so hopefully you can get to it without downloading if you don't want to download it. If you want to download it, go ahead and download it. But anyways, this is what we're looking for. I mean, this is the, it's not going to look exactly like this, but this is the computer of the HPLC, right? So we're looking at the computer here of the HPLC. So what we're going to do on this computer is we're going to try to analyze some data. Now this is a view right here under method and run control. This is the normal view of the HPLC right here. So you might be familiar with this kind of a view when we're looking at the HPLC. But when it comes time for us to analyze the data, we want to go into this menu here and click on data analysis. So we go view data analysis, and then after we're in data analysis, we're going to find our way to the file that we're interested in analyzing. Okay, and the file that we're going to be analyzing here is we can click right here, or we can go into file open, right, the same thing, and then we can just browse our way to the file. This is where we browse our way. All the information is under data, so if you click on data, double click on it, then it'll open up double click on data, it'll show you all the different files that are in this folder under data, right? And so I'll just choose one here which has some files in here. Actually, let me choose a different, slightly different, this one right here. There we go. Has some files in here. Okay, now day 4 is the most recent one. It's the one that's being collected right at this moment. So if I try to open that one, it's going to give me a red line which is saying it's not quite finished loading, essentially. So these other ones I can open, and I'll start with this RB right here. So if I double click on RB, then it opens up two things. It opens up this report, which is something that I can print out if I want to. You'd have to come here to school and pick it up. But this is a report which has a lot of important information on it. And you can look at the report and see if you can look at the spectra here and see how the report is analyzing the data. And maybe it's analyzing the data appropriately for you. Essentially what this report is it's showing you the absorption of the chemicals as they came off. That's this axis over here, versus time, right? So these are the chemicals, the peaks of the chemicals coming off. The area under the peak is related to the concentration of the chemical. That pink line there is showing you where the computer has kind of measured cut off to measure the area under that curve. So this curve right here has a very, the pink line is going from the beginning of the curve to the end of the peak, right? So that's perfect. This one's good. This one has like 2 bumps, so it's going to be hard to tell whether it's 1 or 2 chemicals. This one looks good. And these ones in here are kind of all stacked together, but you can see where they've drawn the pink lines to kind of separate the peaks. But probably the area under those curves, probably not something that you're going to be able to really use. The values above here, 2.79, 4.843, etc., that's the time. That's the time that they came off. See, here's 6 minutes, here's 8 minutes, and this one's at 7.049, for example. And I can scroll down in this, I can look at, let's say, this 6.309 and this 7.043. I can remember those numbers, 6.3 and 7.0, and then I can scroll down in the report, and I can get down to a table here that tells me the area of, here's the peak number, here's the retention time. We were looking at the 6.3 and the 7.0, right? And this area here, this is the area under that peak. So that value, 56.17994, corresponds to how much chemical there was under that 6.3 peak. And then here's the one at 7.0. It had one, it was a larger peak, right? So it was at 292. All right, now I can move this report down right here, and you can see behind it, it also opened up this thing here, which is the software interpreting the data before it made the report. All right. So if you don't like the way the software made the report, if you want to go in and draw your own lines, but these are the peaks that they found, and this is the retention times, and this is the areas of all of these different peaks up here in the top, right? You'll note that there's 3, or there's multiple, maybe there's just one, but often there's more than one chromatogram. We call this whole thing right here one chromatogram, and here's a second one down here. And then if we go even further down, we're going to see a third one down here. Each one is looking at a different wavelength of light to see how the chemicals that came off absorbed at those wavelengths. So the first one here, the first chart corresponds, the first table here corresponds to the first chart, and the second table down here where it says, oh well, we got to go to the next page. See, there's 2 pages here. So the next page, the signal 2, this one corresponds to that one, and then signal 3 corresponds to the third one, right? So let's go to the front page again. So you have to make sure you're looking at the right data table to correspond to the right signal. All right, this is DAD1 signal at 254.4, and that's what we were looking at down here at the bottom on this one here, right? DAD1 signal 254.4. All right, if for some reason you have a peak that, I'm closing that thing now, I can reopen it again just by clicking here and double clicking on RB again, it'll open it. If you have a peak that you don't like the way that the computer has drawn the pink line, all right, you think it should have been drawn a certain way, right? Then what you can do is you can zoom in to that peak. So here, well, that was not a really good one. Let's try a different one here. Let's zoom into this peak here. Okay. If you want to measure it differently for some reason, you can click on this button right here and you can draw your own pink line. So maybe I want the pink line to come to right about this point for some reason. I think that that point is where it really represents it. Then it draws the pink line for me and it gives me that area right there. So then I can look at each specific peak and manually decide where I would like the pink line to go. Does that make sense? All right, let's reopen this now. Just open it fresh, RV again. So here it generates a report from us from the data below. I'm going to close this report for now and show you a different thing you can do here. We can go File, and we can say Export File. We can go to CSV file. That's a common standard way of reporting data or recording XY data. I click on Spectrum, oh sorry, I click on signal here, click on signal, and then I go to write to clipboard, and then I say okay, and then I make sure these two checkboxes are checked, and then I'm clicking the one I want. Here's the 3 different signals again, and we'll do the first one just as an example. And then you click OK, and now it's on the clipboard. So now you can go to, for example, an Excel spreadsheet, and you can push paste here, right? I left that open on purpose so I could maybe label it. I'll label it RB. And then I can highlight this, and then I can move that out of the way, insert a scatter plot like this, okay? And so you can rewind that if I went too fast for you and see what happened. But essentially now I have this same data on an Excel file. Does that make sense? So now I can manipulate them differently. I can put a whole bunch onto one file. Does that make sense? And see how they overlap and see how the peaks change over time or different concentrations and such. Does that make sense? So that should be a pretty good explanation of how to do most of the things that you'll be, for most of you, all the things that you need to do in HPLC analysis. All right, hope that helps.